Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Simple or Difficult. In this week's tutorial, we'll be placing doors in our project in Revit. In this tutorial, we'll be loading door component families into our project file. I will show you two ways of doing just that, the long method and the easy method. We also create a new family type from the existing family, and then we will be looking at tips on how you can place doors in your file. We'll be changing the swing directions of the door, okay, whether they are swinging inwards or outward. We will be flipping the hinges of the door while placing them and after placing them too, okay. With the help of dimensions, we'll be positioning our doors after we have placed them in our project model. Okay, so if these things are things you'd like to learn, then stick around. Let's get to it. Okay, component families are stored in an external library, be it doors, be it windows, furniture, and what have you. So to use a particular door type in a Revit project file, we must first load the door type in question into the Revit project file. Once we load it in, we'll be able to use that door component family throughout the project. And the good thing is, we don't need to be connected to the component file library. What this means is, once we load in a component file, and this applies to all component files, not just the door component. Once we load in a component family, that component goes into the project file completely. That way, even if we copy out the project file and take it to another workstation that doesn't have the same component that we loaded in, okay, that won't be any problem at all. We will still be able to access and use the components. Okay, all we need to do is select the tool, okay, and with the help of the type selector in the properties palette, we will now find the said component. Okay, all right, back to doors. Since doors are placed in walls, they are considered hosted components. Okay, mind you, there are doors that can be hosted on floors and roofs too, as we're going to see in future tutorials. It all depends on how the door component in question was made. All right, okay. To load a door family from a library using the long method now, okay, let's click the insert tab and then click load family. Okay, in the load family dialog, let's go to the location where the file we want to bring in. Let's go to where they are stored. Okay, select the family you want to load in. Okay, in this case, that will be the pivot door. Okay, let's click open. That loads in the pivot door into the project file. All right, so to place doors from the family we just loaded, first let's open the plan view for the ground floor. Okay, the next thing we need to do is go over to the architecture tab and select the door tool. Now we use the type selector at the top of the properties palette to select the pivot door we just loaded. Okay, all right, move the cursor over the wall leading to the hallway and then click to place the door. Now let me show you how I bring in component files into my project with so much ease. All right, okay, first of all, we need to open the file explorer and then locate the component files where we save them in our local drives. All right, then click on this picture icon to display items by using large thumbnails. All right, now we can appreciate the components better because we can see a sort of an image display of the components to enable us make our selection apart from the names. Okay, now go ahead, select all the remaining doors except the pivot doors, of course, because we already brought that one in. All right, so now let's drag them into Revit and drop. Just like that, they are in. After the components upgrade, let's select the door tool. Then using the type selector again, let's choose wall opening case door and place them in the model. All right, still using the type selector, we'll place additional doors in the model. Okay, Note that the door swing inside to outside is context sensitive, to the side of the wall closest to the cursor. What this means is that when you are about to place a door component in your project model and you move the cursor close to either side of the wall, it will make the door flip. Okay, and the spacebar can also be used to flip the hinge side of the door as you are placing them. So go ahead and hit the spacebar as many times as you need to in order to get the hang of it. All right. Let's say you have already placed the doors. Okay, let's place the doors. Okay, click to place the doors. All right, we'll still be able to use spacebar to flip this door, and also flip the hinges, though we might have to hit the spacebar a number of times to be able to get the desired outcome. Or another thing we can do is we can use these arrows, okay, to flip the door after it is placed like so. All right, by the way, these arrows are called the flip controls. Okay, so if I ever say flip controls, now you should know what I mean by that. All right, moving on. Sometimes a family that has been loaded into the project may be very close to what is needed, okay, but it is not an exact match. For example, some of the doors we placed look correct and have the right geometry, but they are not the right size. Okay, in this situation, what we need to do is we need to create a new family from the existing family. So how do we do that? Very simple. Let's select one of these doors. Let's start with the wall opening here, okay, at the entrance port. But before we increase the width, we need to know what we are increasing the width to. Okay, so from the quick access toolbar, let's grab the align dimension tool. Okay, this one right here. Okay, click on it. All right, before we use this tool, let's first of all go to the options bar and ensure that we change this option right here from whatever it is, be it wall center line, center of core, or face of core. Let's change it to the wall faces. That way the dimension witness lines snap to wall faces. Okay, we'll go deeper into the concept of dimension in future tutorials. Okay, there we will talk about dimension in details, but for now let's go ahead and dimension these walls at the entrance port. Alright, that gives us 5,570 millimeters. Now we know what we need to increase the wall opening to. Okay, so we'll now go ahead and select it in the model and then click edit type on the properties palette to open the type properties dialog for each door family. For us to increase a new door type to a different size, we have to duplicate the current type and then rename it properly. Always rename your component properly, as it will help you recognize the component in future should you ever want to reuse it in the project model you are working on. Okay, all right, now we're going to change the type parameters related to the door size to meet the design requirement. Okay, we can see height here. That's the height of the door. Let's change that to 2:1. Okay, you can make yours whatever you want. Should you change your mind later, you can always come back here and change it. Okay, so now let's go down here and change the door width to 5,550 millimeters, just because I like giving a little bit of an allowance between the doors and the walls. Okay, ignore the rough height and the width and the thickness and the rest of them. Leave those ones as they are. Okay, for the purpose of this tutorial, we will just change the height and the width of the wall opening, right? So hit the OK buttons to exit this dialog box. Okay, now we need to do two things. Firstly, we need to align the wall opening to this wall. Okay, and then so grab the align tool from the modify tab. First, click on the face of this wall and then click on the frame of the wall opening, and that does the trick. Then secondly, we need to centralize the wall opening in this space. Okay, must we centralize the wall opening? Nope, but since I'm the one calling the shots here, just do that. Okay, centralize it. All right, to do that, let's grab the dimension tool again from the quick access toolbar. Okay, Our previous settings are still intact, so let's proceed. Let's select the two walls first and then the center of the wall opening. Now click anywhere in the drawing area to exit the align dimension tool. Now let's select the dimension and click the EQ to enable the equality constraint. That means that this side is equal to this side is equal to this other side, which at the same time means that our door is at the middle, just like we wanted it to be. Okay, now let's select the other wall opening and change it to the one we just created using the type selector. Then using the align tool, we will align it to the first wall opening. All right, now let's go ahead and edit the size of other doors in the project and make sure they are properly positioned the way we want them to be positioned. So here is how we are going to be placing the doors. You can get this image from the link in the description below. You will notice there are two types of doors here. One is bigger than the other one. So the bigger one is 900mm wide and 2100mm high, while the smaller one is 750mm wide by 2100mm high. Okay, so we need to create these two doors from the existing family. All right, but then I want you to do this one on your own. What I want you to do is create the two types of doors. Okay, use them to replace the ones already in the project model. Okay, both on the ground floor and the first floor, just like they are in the image I just downloaded. Okay, position them as close as you can, to what you have in this image. I'm going to speed myself up. See you in a sec. All right. Alright, we are back. Now we want to ensure that all the doors are at a uniform head height of 2100mm. Okay, the head height parameters can be found down here in the properties palette. So to adjust the head height, let's go ahead and select these doors right here. Then next, we want to select all instances of the door component in the entire project. Okay, so we will right click while still selecting the door. Okay, and then come down here, click on the select all instances, then we will select an entire project. Okay, now let's go over to the properties palette and type in 2001 to the head height parameters. Now let's do the same thing for the other types of door in the project. Alright, that is it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give us a like. And if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. Not only that, ring the bell so that you don't miss any of our future tutorials. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in my next video.